It was a rainy Thursday evening when Adam sent his mom a message. "Don't worry, I'll be home soon." Just 7 words. Simple. Ordinary. Words he had sent 100 times before. His mum, sitting in the small living room, smiled when her phone lit up. She typed back, "Drive safe, my boy." She didn't know it yet. But this small exchange would become the last conversation they'd ever have. The rain outside grew heavier, drops racing down the glass like tiny tears. She looked out the window, waiting to hear the sound of his car pulling in. But all she heard was thunder. Adam was just 22, young, full of dreams, a little reckless like most boys his age. He had just started his first job at a small marketing firm. He was saving to buy his mom a better house, one where the roof wouldn't leak when it rained. He loved driving at night, especially after a long day at work. It was his time to think. Sometimes he'd drive with no music, just the sound of rain and the city lights blurring past. That night, as he sat behind the wheel, he replayed his day in his mind. How his boss praised him. How he promised his mum they'd go out for dinner that weekend. He turned the heater on, texted his mum one last time, and whispered to himself, just 10 more minutes. On the other side of the city, his mum sat by the window, phone in hand, staring at that little blue check mark. Message delivered. She scrolled through their old chats, pictures from his college graduation, voice notes of him singing off-key just to make her laugh. She whispered softly, "You've grown up too fast, Adam." The clock struck 7:55. She made his favourite soup, like she always did when it rained. But something felt different. The air felt heavier, the silence too long. Then her phone rang. Unknown number. Her hands trembled. "Hello?" she said softly. A man's voice on the other end said, "Ma'am, I'm calling from River Road. There's been an accident near the old bridge. We found a phone. It has your number." Her breath froze. She didn't even drop the spoon she was holding. It just fell from her hand on its own. As she ran out into the rain without her coat, the road blurred in front of her eyes, her tears mixing with the storm. When she reached the old bridge, the flashing lights painted everything blue and red. An officer walked up to her slowly. "Ma'am, are you Mrs. Carter?" She nodded, barely breathing. He looked down, sighed, and handed her a soaked phone. Adam's phone. The screen was cracked, but the message was still open. "Don't worry, I'll be home soon." The rain fell harder, as if the sky itself was crying for her. She dropped to her knees, clutching the phone to her chest, whispering his name again and again. "Adam, please answer me." The next few days passed like a blur. The house that once felt alive now echoed with silence. His shoes were still by the door, his jacket still hanging on the chair. Every time her phone buzzed, her heart raced, hoping somehow it would be him. But deep down she knew that message was the last piece of him she'd ever have. She stopped eating, barely sleeping. She'd sit by the window each night, replaying his voice in her mind. One evening she opened their chat again. The screen glowed softly in the dark. Her fingers trembled as she typed, "I miss you. Drive safe." She hit send. The message went through. Of course there was no reply, but for a moment, she smiled. Days turned to weeks, weeks to months, yet she kept sending him messages. Not because she expected a reply, but because it made her feel close to him. On his birthday, she wrote, "Happy birthday, my boy. I made your favorite soup today." On New Year's, I hope you're warm up there. I still wait for your goodnight texts. And every night, before she slept, just one message. I love you, Adam. Come home soon. People told her to move on. Friends said, you have to let go. But how do you let go of someone who was your whole world? How do you stop waiting for a message that meant everything? Sometimes, when the rain falls late at night, she swears she hears the sound of his car outside. But when she looks, it's always empty streets. Yet, she smiles. Because somewhere, she believes he still reads her texts, just from a different place. But the last message Adam sent wasn't just words. It was a promise. A son's love frozen in time. And though he never came home that night, his words did. They stayed. In her heart, in her phone, in every moment she still breathes. Because sometimes a message doesn't need a reply to be felt. Some goodbyes aren't meant to end. He said he'd be home soon. And maybe someday, he will be. Some messages never get delivered, but they're never truly lost. The last message